The opulent world of Alexander Vance was built of cold, hard numbers. At 35, he was the undisputed king of venture capital, his name synonymous with ruthless deals and a Midas touch that turned fledgling tech startups into billion-dollar empires. His life in Manhattan was a curated exhibit of success, a penthouse overlooking Central Park, a collection of vintage cars, and a social calendar filled with galas where the champagne flowed as freely as the whispered negotiations. Yet within the granite fortress of his heart there was a hollow echo. He had everything, and it meant nothing. It was on a bitter November evening, seeking an escape from the suffocating perfume of a charity auction, that he stumbled into a different world. Drawn by the raw, unfiltered sound of a violin, he found himself in a dimly lit subway station. And there he saw her. Her name was Ilara. She was not simply playing the violin, she was breathing life into it. Her eyes were closed, her brow furrowed in concentration, as a melody of profound sorrow and resilient hope wove through the grimy underground. She was wrapped in a worn coat, a threadbare scarf around her neck, but her posture was one of unbreakable dignity. A small, open case at her feet held a scattering of coins. Alexander, a man who commanded boardrooms with a glance, stood frozen, utterly disarmed. He dropped $100 bill into her case, not as charity, but as a tribute. When her eyes, the color of a stormy sea, met his, it was not gratitude he saw, but a quiet, defiant pride. The connection was instantaneous, a silent thunderclap in the stale subway air. He began to frequent that station, a ghost in a Brioni suit amidst the rush-hour crowd. He learned she was a conservatory student, her dreams of a professional career dashed by the staggering debt left after her parents' passing. She lived in a tiny apartment in Brooklyn with her older brother, Liam, who worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat. Alexander, for the first time, didn't buy his way in. He simply listened. He learned the language of her soul through the music she played. Their love story began in whispered conversations after her playing ended in shared cups of coffee in all-night diners a world away from his Michelin-starred restaurants. With Ilara, Alexander rediscovered laughter, the simple joy of a walk in the rain, the warmth of a connection that asked for nothing but his true self. He was no longer Alexander Vance, the Titan. He was just Alex. But this fragile new world was not built to last. The Vance family, an old money dynasty with a lineage traced back to the Mayflower, got wind of it. His mother, Eleanor Vance, a woman whose elegance was as sharp as a scalpel, summoned him to the family estate in the Hamptons. "An orphaned street musician, Alexander," she said, her voice dripping with icy contempt. "This is not a rebellious phase, it is a pathology. She is a gold digger, preying on a man having a midlife crisis. You will end this. Now." When Alexander refused, the machinery of the Vance empire whirred into action. They first targeted Ilara directly. A sleek black car pulled up beside her one day, and a sharply dressed lawyer offered her a check for $2 million to disappear. She tore it up, her eyes blazing with a fury that surprised even her. "I don't have a price," she said, her voice steady, "and neither does he." Frustrated, the Vances turned to Liam. They offered him a life-changing sum, a managerial position at one of their companies, a way out of his grinding poverty. But Liam, though weary from his struggles, loved his sister more than he desired comfort. He refused. The final, cruelest blow came from an unexpected direction. Eleanor Vance orchestrated a masterful deception. She arranged for Ilara to see Alexander having a business lunch with a former girlfriend, a socialite perfectly curated to be his match. Photos were taken from angles that suggested intimacy, and a fabricated story of their rekindled romance was strategically leaked. To Ilara, who knew the vast social chasm between them was his family's greatest weapon, It was the confirmation of her deepest fears. She believed he had finally succumbed to the pressure, that she was indeed just a fleeting distraction. Heart shattered, she disappeared. She changed her number, left her apartment, and dropped out of the conservatory. She vanished from his life as completely as a ghost. For Alexander, her disappearance was an amputation. The hollow echo in his heart became a deafening roar. The world of high finance turned to ash in his mouth. He realized then that every fortune, every company, every shred of his power was worthless without her. He resigned from his firm to the horror of his family and began a desperate, relentless search. For months, he combed the city, using resources his family never knew he had, following the faintest of trails. He finally found her in a small coastal town in Maine, working in a local library and giving music lessons to children. She had rebuilt a simple, quiet life. When he stood before her, the mighty Alexander Vance was brought to his knees, not by force, but by regret. "They lied, Ilara," he whispered, his voice raw. "Every word, every picture was a lie. I never stopped loving you. I gave it all up. The money, the company, my name. It means nothing. You are my only fortune." The sight of him, stripped of his arrogance, pleading with a vulnerability she had never seen, broke through the walls around her heart. The love she had tried to bury surged back, more powerful than any fear or pride. They embraced on the windswept shore, the past washing away with the tide. News of their reunion reached the Vances, but this time Alexander was prepared. He had used his time away to quietly divest from the family empire, building his own independent wealth. He confronted his parents not with anger, but with a calm, unshakable finality. "You have a choice," he told them. "You can lose your son forever, or you can accept the woman who taught me how to live. There is no third option." Faced with the utter ruin of their family and seeing a strength in their son they had never fostered, Eleanor Vance, for the first time in her life, capitulated. The invitation to a family dinner was stiff, the apologies were awkward, but it was a beginning. The story of Alexander and Ilara did not end in a fairy tale wedding, though they had one, small and intimate, on that very beach in Maine. It ended with a new beginning. They founded the Vance Resonance Foundation, a non-profit that provided scholarships and instruments for underprivileged musical prodigies. Alexander, the reformed capitalist, found his true purpose in building not wealth, but futures. And Ilara, her spirit no longer burdened by struggle, finally composed the symphony she had always carried in her heart. Its premiere attended by her husband, her brother, and even a silently proud Eleanor Vance. Their love had been a quiet melody in a noisy world, nearly silenced by the clamor of greed and prejudice. But true love, like a timeless song, always finds a way to be heard again. It didn't just conquer all, it transformed everything it touched, proving that the most valuable fortunes are not those we amass, but those we discover in the most unexpected of places.